Hey guys, it's Shane here again, and I'm just finishing off the Tanks of Legend series. So this time we're covering the Xenos Vehicles of Legend, which is a bit more varied than the others, of course, because we're going over a lot more factions than the other ones, but let's get into it. So starting off, we've got the War Track and War Buggy. Now these were the actual Games Workshop models for over 20 years. So they got a massive update in the October Speed War update when they brought out all the new ones, which are so much better. So as the question is if you should still field your old ones, I mean the pros, they're cheap, they're fast, they can do the outflank, which is nice. The cons, the firepower is very low. They only got one gun. It's the twin big shooter or the rockets. So very low firepower, very inaccurate. There's no real special abilities. Yeah, and the models are just very outdated. They don't look good. So, yeah, everything, the new buggies they made up, so much better. So we can forget about this guy. The next one we're looking at is the Grot bomb launcher. This guy's legitimately OP. Super cheap, it's only 50 points, and you could take out a full squad of Marines with one of these guys. I can only fire once, but it's so cheap, you just zoom it up, shoot its load, and then make him zoom around and collect field objectives. Plus, it's just such a fun model. The Grot there just being so happy to just fire himself straight into the enemy. It's such a good model. Alright, then we're looking at the lifter wagon. This is very much a swing weapon, and there's not actually a lot of payoff with this guy in the current Legends rules. It does mortal wounds, of course, which is nice, but it can't really do it very reliably. It's a very clunky system rolling for damage. The old rules were so much more fun. It can only target vehicles, but it would cause them to scatter and explode in random directions. But yeah, with this guy, hitting on fives, you'd rarely see it do much all game, I'd imagine. It's a fun idea, it's a unique model, but really needs a whole different rule set to make it worth bringing in this state. Alright, now we're looking at the Kill Crusher. Profile-wise, it's pretty decent. It's an okay price to pay. And the Kill Crusher cannon, it's got a few different profiles. It's got 4 different range ones, different damages, so it's, yeah, you can do a lot with this guy. So definitely still usable in the game. I'm guessing they didn't keep this guy around as the model is pretty old, it doesn't look great, and yeah, they weren't really interested in keeping it around, unlike the Kill Tank, which the model still holds up. I really like that design. So, yeah, you could still bring this guy, but there are sort of better options. Alright, now we're into the Death Roller Battle Fortress. Not terrible. The model I think looks cool. Aside from its large transport capacity, it doesn't have many special rules. It's just more customizable than the other tanks. This has been the case since its rules in Apocalypse. Originally, it would demoralize models that it drove over and did extra wounds in the tank shot, but yeah, you can't really add that back into the game now. But still, I think this Lord of War tanks have fallen out in favor when you just take the Morkanaut, and that'll do pretty much the same job as this. So I think that's really where the design focus was switching to. Alright, so now we're looking at the Eldar, the Firestorm. An almost completely forgotten tank for the Eldar. The last time its rules were printed in a book was over 10 years ago. Its rules have just been kept online from then on in update editions. Now, as we mentioned before, in the current edition, anti-air tanks really not needed. So there's no exception to that rule for the Firestorm. And it's not an anti-air, it's anti-aircraft. But its weapon has no AP, it's only 1 damage, only strength 6. So with 12 shots, even hitting on 2s, a Space Marine aircraft would take 2 damage on average from being shot at. So unfortunately this guy would only hurt your army to bring it. Not recommended. As a quick honorable mention though, the Dark Eldar. So they had the Rampage, which was published in 2001, the chapter approved for 3rd edition. Never had an official model or anything, but it's a fun design. It's just 2 Raiders stuck together and the extra Dark Lancers fused to the hull. So I like it. There isn't a lot of choices for Dark Eldar vehicles, so having something extra would be cool. Alright, so now we're looking at Tau. So starting with the TX42 Piranha, It's less tough, but more armored, so that's kind of a fun idea. Really stood out on its own with its design, and it could deal some serious damage. I have no idea why they stopped making this model, and so making it unsupported, because it really works well. So yeah, I'd definitely still recommend bringing this guy. Alright, and lastly we're looking at the TX7 Hammerhead. So the only difference with the TX7, you had more options for the main gun. As much as I love having more weapon options, they really aren't as useful as they were in the previous editions, as now the massive damage you have from the railgun, or if you want the multiple good damage shots, you take the iron cannon. With the TX7, the high yield missile launchers are useful. They can get the two to fire at different targets, but overall the iron cannon will do more damage at double the range. The twin swift strike is cool. You know, it's long range 16-shot assault cannon, but it's extra 25 points over the iron cannon. The twin fusion, just a multi-melter, which is good, but the railgun is cheaper, 3 times the range, and does more reliable damage. And the twin plow cannon is worse than all of them. So as cool as it is to have the unique weapon options, they're all just extremely relevant, which is a massive shame, really. But yeah, that'll finish off this series. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye.